Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we sift through stacks of sources, pull out the key info, and basically give you a shortcut to being really well-informed. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, it hit a lot of film fans, pop culture folks, this past week. We're talking about the passing of actor Michael Madsen at 67. We've been looking at online reactions, places like rFilm, RGTA, R90s, even the QuentinTarantino subreddit. A lot of people grappling with the news.
Yeah, and what's really compelling, I think, is how these discussions, they don't just map out his career, the big roles. They also show these sometimes surprising personal connections people felt, connections to different roles, even little bits about his actual life. So our mission today is really to unpack that. What made Michael Madsen so uniquely impactful, often in these really intense roles, maybe roles that didn't quite match the man, and how did he build this legacy?
Okay, so let's dive right in. That immediate aftermath. The sources, they just show this wave of shock, right? Sadness rippling through those online communities. You saw these really raw reactions like, new, or just what, WTF, and 67 is way too early. Massive bummer. Just that collective gut punch feeling.
It really was. And what's interesting, too, is this weird synchronicity popping up. A lot of people were saying, I just watched Reservoir Dogs, or I was just listening to the Kill Bill soundtrack. Like, he was already kind of present for them, which maybe made the news hit even harder. It shows how these characters, these actors, they really get under your skin sometimes.
And here's something that really jumped out from the comments. A really surprising number of people thought he'd already passed away.
Yeah.
Like, they were confusing him with other actors.
Yeah.
Tom Sizemore came up a lot.
Right, or Christopher Penn, Sean Penn's brother, who was also in Reservoir Dogs, actually.
Yeah, or even Vince Vaughn, which seems a bit further afield, but it happened.
And it says something, doesn't it, about maybe character actors or actors known for a certain type, how they can kind of blend into our collective memory. They become these archetypes almost, so deeply etched that maybe the individual gets a bit blurred sometimes. It's not just about being a star, it's about embodying something raw.
Okay, so let's pivot to maybe the elephant in the room, or at least the biggest presence. Quentin Tarantino. When you dig into these discussions, it's undeniable. Madsen's work with Tarantino was huge. Let's start with Mr. Blonde. Reservoir Dogs. That role alone.
Oh, absolutely. The quotes just fly out. Are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite? Or hello, can you hear me? Guess not. Chilling. And what's really fascinating and comes up again and again is that Madsen himself was reportedly really uncomfortable with that scene, the ear-cutting scene.
Yeah, I saw that mentioned a lot.
Yet the performance is just ice cold. Psychopathic, really. It's this incredible tension, isn't it, between the actor's feeling and the character's reality. It kind of speaks to what acting is, right? It's not always about being the character, but maybe confronting something you resist and transforming it.
And you can't talk Mr. Blonde without mentioning the dance. That improvised dance to Stuck in the Middle with You.
Oh, legendary.
It totally locked that song into film history, didn't it? And it just showcased his, effortless cool. That became his signature for so many people, I think, that specific moment.
Definitely. And moving beyond Reservoir Dogs, his role as Bud in Kill Bill also gets a lot of attention. And Joe Gage in The Hateful Eight. People really responded to Bud. That mix of arrogance and yet touches of humility and nobility, someone said, skirting that line between pitiful and depraved.
Yeah, that complexity.
And that line, that woman deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die. But then again, so does she. Wow, that landed hard for a lot of viewers. Showed the gray areas he could bring.
And Joe Gage, too, in Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
People loved him in that.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned his forehead wrinkle glare that could make you pregnant.
Ah, yeah, I saw that one.
It's just clear Tarantino saw something really, really special in him. That ability to dominate with just a look.
For sure. And people talked about Tarantino's loyalty, how he brings actors back. There was also some interesting chat about his career path, like the fact he was apparently up for Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. And while obviously Travolta's performance was iconic, totally rebooted his career, people were debating, would it have done the same huge thing for Madsen? Because Madsen was already working pretty steadily, right? It wasn't quite the same comeback narrative.
That's a good point. Hard to know.
Yeah, but regardless, the feeling was pretty much universal. Every movie he was in was better for him having been in it. He just elevated things, even with the small part.
So, okay, he wasn't just the Tarantino guy, right?
Yeah.
The sources make that really clear. What else stood out? Where else did people know him from?
Well, this was kind of surprising, actually. A lot of people, especially maybe those who grew up in the 90s, Their first memory was Glenn, the dad in Free Willy.
Free Willy.
Right.
I'd almost forgotten that.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a footnote. People remembered him really fondly in that. It showed his versatility,
Yeah.
playing the good guy. It proved he could do warmth, that grounded paternal thing, totally different from the usual intense roles he got typecast in.
That's a great example of his range. People also mentioned Sonny Black and Donnie Brasco, highly regarded performance there.
Yep. And Thelma and Louise, too.
Yeah.
And some guilty pleasure mentions for Species.
Oh, yeah, Species.
But what's also really significant, maybe flies under the radar a bit, is his voice work, especially in video games.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. He was Tony Cipriani in Grand Theft Auto III. That gravelly voice just fit that world perfectly, defined the tone for a lot of players.
Like the GTA connection?
Yeah, and he was Finn in Call of Duty, Mob of the Dead, William Carver in The Walking Dead, Season 2, Don Rafferty in True Crime, Streets of L.A. Seriously, a lot of GTA fans were calling him the original GTA king. That voice acting really left a mark, gave those characters that hard-edged realism.
And you can't forget Vengeance Unlimited, that TV show.
Yeah.
Short-lived, but people loved it, Mr. Chappell.
Oh, yeah. People are still wishing that was streaming somewhere. It just shows, even on TV, he had that captivating presence, that quiet intensity.
Definitely. And other mentions popped up, too. The Natural, Die Another Day, way back in War Games. He was around for a long time.
He really was.
So this deep dive also gives us like a glimpse behind the curtain, doesn't it? At Michael Madsen, the person. Beyond the tough guy roles, we learned about his sister, Virginia Madsen, also a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
Sideways, Candyman, Dune.
Right. And she had this really lovely way of describing him. She called her big brother mischief wrapped in tenderness.
Yeah, that paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. And it highlights that contrast we often see,
Yeah.
between the actor and the roles they play. Despite playing these truly terrifying characters, a lot of the sources suggest he actually seemed like a good and gentle man. There were these little anecdotes, like him being chatty and friendly with supermarket staff or being very delicate with his kid. It complicates that menacing image.
And that brings us back to something we touched on, his discomfort. The sources mention it quite a bit, his discomfort with the violence in some of those famous roles, like the Reservoir Dogs ear scene, definitely, but also apparently the violence in GTA 3. He later said he regretted doing it.
Which really makes you wonder, right? How does an actor square that deep personal unease with delivering something so convincing, so powerful on screen? It says a lot about the job, I suppose. And the sources also paint him as just incredibly prolific. A machine, as someone called him.
Yeah, the work ethic seemed intense.
Like over 30 straight years with multiple credits per year, sometimes like 17 credits in 1 year.
17, wow.
Apparently, it was driven by wanting to provide for his kids. He had 6 children.
But the sources don't ignore the difficult stuff either. They mention he struggled with his demons over the years.
Yeah, that definitely came through. Some described him pretty harshly, raging alcoholic, accusations of abuse, claims he was unhireable in Hollywood for decades because of it all.
It's a complicated picture. And then passing away at 67, reportedly from a heart attack. It feels like an end to a life that had these huge creative peaks, but also some really deep valleys.
Absolutely. But despite all those challenges, his legacy as an actor, I think, is undeniable. He was called a firecracker of an actor, someone who could do so much without dialogue, just pure presence.
That intensity without raising his voice.
Exactly. Intense and scary, yeah, without shouting. He's really celebrated for making a massive impact with very few lines sometimes, and that voice, unforgettable.
So as we kind of wrap up this look at Michael Madsen's legacy, it feels complex, but really clear that he carved out this unique space for himself, from the chilling Mr. Blonde to the surprisingly gentle Glenn and Free Willy. And that voice work in games, he left behind this really potent body of work that hit people in unexpected ways.
Yeah, his career, when you look at it through these sources, it's just this fascinating study. An actor who gave us these truly memorable performances, often playing on that intensity, that quiet menace. Yet reportedly, he struggled with the very stuff that made some of those roles famous. He had that effortless cool on screen, didn't he? Even if the man himself was dealing with, well, a lot of turbulence.
So maybe something for you to think about as you reflect on Michael Madsen. What does it really mean for an actor's legacy when their most iconic roles, the ones we remember them for, are characters so different from maybe who they were or what they were comfortable with? And maybe what does that tell us about our own capacity for transformation? Both, the kind we see on screen and the kind that happens off it.